Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Positively Disney podcast. I'm Kimberly Bouchard, the author of the Positively Disney book series, from where this show stems from. And by the way, if you guys are looking for a great Christmas present or stocking stuffer, I have 6 of my books out, and there are 4 that are a compilation of Disney stories specifically, and 1 that is Star Wars specifically. And I guarantee you guys, you will love them. They're very near and dear to so many people's hearts out there. And if you want to get a personalized copy, just email me, message me, and I'd be happy to do so. You can get them on Amazon or order them in any retail store globally. So I'm so excited about today. And before we go on, I just want to tell you that I want to thank my sponsor dearly, Michelle McKeown over at Ears of Experience. She can be reached at MMCKEOWN at themouseexperts.com. If you have a vacation you are thinking about taking in the future, you need to reach out to her. She will assemble the perfect vacation, be it a Disney or a romantic getaway or somewhere in the jungles of Costa Rica. Wherever you decide to go, she will assemble that for you, and just let her know that I have sent you. Well, it is just kind of incredible, the coincidences of today's podcast in so many ways. I just want to wish a big happy birthday to Mickey Mouse. Can you believe that it was 92 years ago today that he became a reality? One tiny idea in on November 18th in 1928 to become such an amazing, not only iconic symbol recognized worldwide, but responsible for the movies and our theme parks around the world. And of course, we have to remember that very famous quote of Walt's that was actually, he coined that quote in October 27th, 1954, and saying, "I only hope that we don't lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse." And sometimes people kind of wonder, can they really make a difference in this world just with one idea or one person? Well, I think that's a pretty good exhibit right there of how one idea did actually do something amazing, one little tiny seed. Before I go on, I want to just say good evening to Michelle, who I see is on here now. I am also very excited because some of you guys in Florida actually got to see the SpaceX rocket launch of 4 crew members on Sunday. But what many of you may not know is that they actually took a plush toy of the child, aka Baby Yoda from the Mandalorian, on board with them up to the space station. And they usually tether it, of course, because they can't have it flying around. I can't imagine. I'd be totally distracted if I saw Baby Yoda going by me when I was trying to get to 0G, to zero gravity. And it is actually, they kind of bring something like that along to indicate when they are in orbit, when the launch sequence has completed and they are at 0G. And I thought that was so fun and so appropriate for especially for our guest this evening that we are going to call on the show right away. Dominic Pace is an actor I have the very good fortune to have met and spent a little bit of time with recently. Very nice fellow. He is part of the Mandalorian family, you could say, from season 1. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. I cannot imagine getting the opportunity to have a role on that show. And season 2, of course, is out, and anybody following the canon must be just jaw drop because it's amazing. Hi, Dominic. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you could come on. I was just introducing you a little bit, and I was just actually telling the folks that they actually brought the child to the space station, the SpaceX crew on Sunday. And I thought, how cool is that? And how appropriate for you as my guest this week.
Absolutely. I don't think you can get a a better promotion than that.
Yeah.
That's really special. But if anyone's deserving, it's certainly Dave and John and the entire team over there at the Mandalorian, without question.
Absolutely. So, you are such a nice guy, and to have such a scary, get up for a costume as Gekko in season one. First of all, how long did it take to get made up like that?
It was a 2-hour process. I had previous experience. I doubled Frankenstein and stood in for him on Van Helsing back in 2002 opposite Hugh Jackman, and also a little bit of prosthetic experience. I was one of the orcs in Bright, as well as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I worked a couple of those shows. It's not the most enormous talent to have in terms of patience to sit in the chair for an hour, 2 hours. However, they do want somebody that is kind, that is patient, that's not fiddling on their phone, and that is professional. And for me, it was just a labor of love, especially being such a lover of Star Wars ever since I was a child. The more detail they put in the character, the more excited I was, just because I felt that it was really going to add to the lore for many years to come with the character there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, could you breathe all right? I mean, that kind of like the tube, that the hose that was attached to the face mask, could you breathe all right? I mean, obviously you breathe, but was it a little hard?
Yeah, thankfully it was not a functioning oxygen mask, because I think that's where that would come into play, to where if you're just breathing through the tubes. Thankfully, the front vent was completely open, so that wasn't the issue at all. And I think any Star Wars fan would be able to relate that it really was truly the adrenaline rush for 2 weeks to be a part of something so special, where really, I mean, even the 15, 16 hours on our feet within that makeup, again, it took about an hour to actually take off each evening.
Oh, wow.
It was just such an adrenaline rush that even with the 3 layers of clothing and the heavy prosthetics and the mask, I really wasn't even in the right mindset in that, as far as any pain or fatigue, just because, again, I think any Star Wars fan, and especially so many of my friends from all the charitable organizations who gear up, they kit up for so many amazing events and causes throughout the country and throughout the world. It's just such a labor of love when you're able to represent the Star Wars brand, not to mention a one-of-a-kind bounty hunter and somebody so unique as this Gekko bounty hunter there.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, you mentioned 3 layers of clothes. So obviously your regular street clothes. So tell me about the other 2 layers.
Well, it wasn't necessarily street clothes, but I mean, it was a undergarment shirt. It was sort of this,
okay.
I want to say almost like a Middle Eastern style of pants, where they had a lot, I guess I got to be politically correct, but just a lot of room in the crotch there.
Okay,
okay. Some rain boots, and then it was just another sort of folding, I don't want to say a sweater, but another sort of a shirt, and then combined with the dark blue robe, which is sort of his signature color there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty much 3 layers, and then you're looking at room temperature within that soundstage. It was September of 2018. We thankfully did not have to film outside. Oh my God, the sun, every now and then we'd have to go, for a break or for lunch.
Right.
But in order to cover up that makeup or to seal it down, they would use an alcohol base. So if you were exposed to the sun at all, it was like being Dracula. I mean, you would just burn under a few seconds there.
Oh, ouch. Oh my gosh.
So lunch was a little uncomfortable there, but thankfully I would just eat quickly and then just get right back in where it was cooler within the soundstage there.
Gosh, so you really took one for the team. It makes me smile, because Jeremy Bulloch, the original bounty hunter, he was telling me about the time that he was on set. It was the scene when Han Solo was being frozen in the carbonite, and all that was steam, and it was so hot that he and Darth Vader, they nearly passed out. And I'm thinking, in some of those costumes, if you are outside or in a steam scene, you could really overheat. But you're gonna have to. Good thing you were inside. A little bit controlled temperatures, right?
Yeah, thankfully, I've heard some nightmare stories, specifically Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, where I understood, I think people were literally dropping like flies off that set because, you had the whole ape outfit on in the middle of the Mojave Desert, I believe they were, but it was really some serious conditions. I've been in them a couple of times, one with Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, and then on the other end of the spectrum, a really fun show on HBO called Barry, starring Bill Hader. We were out in the desert in the middle of the night, and man, I think it was probably the coldest I've ever been, especially just in a Russian jumpsuit. It was fun, but but thankfully this was great. And again, I mean, anything Star Wars, even if they had us out in Yuma, I'd still be a kid in a candy store just because of the opportunity there.
Absolutely. Well, now, where did you grow up, Dominic?
Sure. I grew up in Ossining, New York. It's famous for its prison, almost like the Alcatraz of the East Coast. It's Sing Sing Prison. I was born in White Plains, just north of New York City. I grew up in Ossining, New York. I started off Broadway in 1994 in a fun Italian-American comedy called Tony and Tina's Wedding.
Yes.
It came out here probably in 1998, 1999. It was a movie called For Love of the Game, where I had a featured ball player role with Kevin Costner. We were on the Detroit Tigers there. And starting in 2002, a very steady diet of co-stars and guest stars throughout my career. I'm almost up to 100 now on IMDb.
Nice.
So very proud of my career, but just such an honor to be a part of the Star Wars community. And they've, even just such a little side character, they've embraced me in so many ways this year, and I can't tell you how grateful I am, and very confident the story of Gekko will continue on here over the next year there.
Well, yeah. So, okay, let's back up just a tad. So you were in the Broadway production, but when did you actually start acting? How, were you like a child? Was it in high school? Was it in junior high or?
Yeah. Sure. I was 16 in high school, and I started my high school musical Grease as Danny Zuko.
Nice.
And it was a packed, sold-out weekend with all my friends and family and parents, teachers, coaches all around the community. It was just such a great adrenaline rush. Baseball was always my love, but being on that stage and feeling the electricity of being on stage for the first time, and I was always a good singer. I was never a Broadway caliber, but always a good singer. I caught the bug from there.
Oh, isn't that fun? There's so many wonderful things that you can take away, that you can give. What is your favorite part of all of this for you?
As far as the role, or just the experience in general?
Just the experience in general, yeah.
Sure. I think, look, as human beings, it's a very obviously a politically correct society, and I think we all need that out emotionally, whether we're artists or athletes, or, we take an art class, or we take a kickboxing class. The greatest thing I could take away is just really having that emotional freedom to where you are able to do whatever it is, to be whoever it is that you want to be, and to create with an ensemble, with other human beings, to where you really have just a tremendous amount of gratification through the work. It is the perfect challenge for me. It's funny, I'm actually taking up golf. I've been getting a little bit more serious over the last couple of years, but the correlation I'm making here is just the fact that sometimes things are difficult. The art of acting is difficult, but at the same time, even like golf, it's a beautiful challenge. And each day, you sort of approach it to, questioning, maybe how could I have done this more organically? How could I learn a little bit more? Because you can constantly grow within the craft. And I think anything you do, you can constantly, find different ways to grow. But it's just really genuinely embracing the art itself, or whatever it is that you do. And then all of a sudden, just that's where all the beauty comes from. And thankfully, I've been fortunate to stem together a pretty solid career there.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk more specifically about your Mandalorian and Star Wars experience. So, what was it like to be on set? I mean, honestly, we've all seen the movies, and I can't even imagine being on set. But what was it like?
I wish I can tell you it was just complete awe and excitement and joy. I have two kids, and it almost was like stepping onto a game show, because the thing is when I have friends that have been a member of the cast, from a Return of the Jedi or from Empire Strikes Back, and you think of sometimes the other opportunities that this universe can provide for your family, provide for your own career. So at the same time that I was, just completely elated with joy of seeing George Lucas on set day one, not to mention the incredible Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. I can't say enough about their kindness, their generosity, their friendship, their professionalism with everyone on set, not to mention this amazing Deborah Chow, director, who was going to be heading up the Kenobi series. It was hard not to have in the back of my head the possible opportunity for Gekko. And I'm very content in how I executed his opportunity this year.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, right now, we're looking forward, we're looking to the future to see how we can continue to build on this. You know, Disney, unfortunately, is not an independent film company. So to sway them in any direction that unfortunately is not the idea that they originally had is extremely difficult. But I'll tell you, we've got some really good leads, some really good bites, specifically Marvel Comics, who love the look of the character, thanks to Brian Sipe, who created him, along with Joseph Toro. So if this stems into the comic world, I'm really excited to do another tour to support small business, similar to what I did this past summer during the whole COVID crisis, and continue on his story and hopefully circle back around to some of the live action, because I think he's a really incredible looking bounty hunter, and I think there's definitely more of a story they can capitalize on with him there, without question.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's called Gekko. Now, how did that name come about?
Sure, yeah. Brian Sipe headed up Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, David Bautista. He created the makeup for Drax, and that was filmed in Georgia during the time that Brian was there. It must have been about 4 or 5 years, because between Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers, I think it took that amount of time. He also did a Greenpeace project out there with a female model who had a prosthetic on her head, and they dressed her from head to toe with the same makeup style that they had on me, but also 2 bumps on her head. On the day of the screen test, I was given those 2 bumps, and I politely went to Brian as I was being approved by Dave and John. They thought it looked great. I just, for me, you know, thinking of a bounty hunter, wanted something a little bit more imposing, a little bit more demonic in one way or another. So I politely told Brian, these bumps look, you know, almost like he would be attending a hearing that the emperor would be having, you know, if they were holding court in one way or another. I said, if there's any way that you can create maybe something a little bit more menacing. So they kept the makeup, and this was a Gekko-like a model, and the nickname kind of stuck, and now little by little it's being kind of added into the lore, into canon, where that is his name, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really excited to see where it goes. But that's all Brian Sipe, and he's a legendary makeup artist. He was nominated for an Emmy for episode 6 of season 1, and Joseph Toro, who did the costume work, created these really amazing gauntlets for the character. He was nominated for the specific episode I was featured in most, which was episode 3 there for an Emmy. So it was just such an honor to be sort of their muse for this experience there.
Nice. Well, and you know, so I guess, was it everything you imagined it would be?
Absolutely. The one beautiful art form that we sort of hone as we get older is sort of this thing called tunnel vision. As an actor, all of a sudden, you know, you're focused, just like a golfer or a quarterback, to where all of a sudden the audience goes away. Well, with the tunnel vision of an actor, the lights go away. So one thing that was really, really exciting at the time, I did not know that the Mandalorian was a different character than Boba Fett. Boba Fett was one of my favorite characters, and here we are squaring off head to head during this battle scene. And I went back to being, you know, a 6-year-old kid or 7-year-old kid, and just being in my bedroom with, you know, the original 12 figures, the original, you know, the Empire Strikes Back figures as well, and literally being caught up in the moment. And this battle scene that they had in episode 3 really was just, really literally out of this world in terms of the experience. Because after training for so long, you're able to really get rid of the rest of the world and immerse yourself in that character, and put yourself, the character, take over, almost like Venom in the Marvel series, where they take over and Dominic is no longer there. So that was really, really special there.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just curious to know, was there anything that surprised you while you were playing this character or on set or
Well, it was a childhood dream come true, and I say this story often with the members, the charitable members of 501st, the Rebel Legion, and the Sith Dynasty, the Mandalorian Mercs, in that I was given the opportunity to select my own weapon. And my only hope, because that was such a dream come true as a lifelong Star Wars fan, is that other members of the Star Wars community, not necessarily actors, but members of the Star Wars community, because they appreciate this franchise so much, I hope they are given the same gift one day or one season with all the spinoffs and such that I was given, just because it was probably one of the most amazing experiences is a Star Wars fan could experience, in terms of literally getting to choose your own weapon within the Star Wars universe. And it's so funny because it was sort of nonchalant by the prop master. And for any Star Wars fan, they can certainly relate on how amazing that experience is, of course.
Wow, yeah, that is really, because you're usually just given the costume, given the props. There's sort of it's said and done, right? But to be given that opportunity, that's really awesome. Uh, you touched on something earlier that I wanted to share with folks, because you went on a real cross country adventure, I would say, this past summer. Can you share with everybody a little bit about that and what you did?
Absolutely. With the roles that we play, whether, they're side characters or lead roles in television and film, there's a lot of parallels to life. And the one thing with the Star Wars bounty hunter in general is that they have to fight grit and grind. You don't know where your next payment is going to come from. You don't know where your next opportunity is going to come from. I was booked for 26 different Comic-Cons all over the world this year as a Star Wars side character to go ahead and continue to brand and to become familiar with the Star Wars fan base, and again, sort of brand this character in hopes of him continuing on through the series. When that all got canceled, I understood, and I think as we all do, that it's not just the essential businesses that need to stay in business, it's also the non-essential businesses. So I started reaching out to just a small handful, about maybe 4 or 5 comic book stores throughout the country, and just was going to make a very, very small trip to promote the character, but at the same time keep social distancing. Well, what it ended up turning out to be was 41 different comic book stores over 28 states.
Wow.
We did it in a safe fashion.
Yeah.
Unlike other actors, much respect to a lot of the A-listers, I did not ask for a fee. I just simply asked for if I can get put up maybe in a hotel the night before in exchange for, instead of them paying me for the appearance, I would give them 10 to 15% to support their small business and also thank them for supporting my cause. It combined with other charitable events as well. We made $1,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm sorry, $2,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, $1,000 for the Peter Mayhew Foundation, as well as $600 for the Aflac Cancer Research Fund. The great thing about the Star Wars community is they're so involved with charitable organizations. And it was such a great way to not only help brand the character, but at the same time, give back to the community, get to know the Star Wars fans, give everyone sort of a mental health break, not only the fans, but also the Star Wars community. We're just really, everybody's just kind of hungry to get out, but also in a safe manner. And that's what the stores did. There were times I was even outside signing, but it was just a great opportunity to be innovative. My entire industry was shut down, and also at the same time to give back to small businesses. So it was literally like a grand slam in terms of a win-win-win-win all across the board, from the character to also helping out others. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for the entire year. That's
really wonderful. And now you have, I think, something else in the works, right? Another type of tour, do you?
Well, we are holding, it's not confirmed, but that will be with Marvel Comics. And that is hopeful going to be Gekko's debut. We're holding for the blessing from Disney and Lucasfilm. Marvel is completely excited about this. So we're going to hopefully know by Christmas, would be my hope. And as soon as that tour gets launched, you'll be the first to know. We're hoping to do all 50 states, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
To chime in Gekko's debut, which I know for a fact will be definitely a collector's item for every Star Wars fan. We plan to hit over 60 comic book stores throughout 50 states, including Hawaii and Alaska. And again, we're going to do it safe, but also at the same time, we're going to use it as an opportunity to give back to the local communities, get involved in charities, and also, again, continue to build this character there. But I can't tell you how grateful I've been for the Star Wars community. They've been so incredibly supportive.
I love that. I love that. Something that occurred to me when we were talking about that you picked a weapon. Can you tell me and the audience, what was the weapon for those that might not have seen the series yet, and why did you choose it?
It's so funny. There was a little quick memory that flashed back in my head from when I was 6, 7 years old. I remember some of the bounty hunters, IG-88, Dengar, I used to play with in my room, and I remember meticulously placing their rifle, their long rifle, or their long blaster in their hand. And sometimes it's tricky because, action figure hands, especially 3.75 inches there, a lot of times it can be tricky to put it in just right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was always fascinated with the big blaster. So I picked the biggest blaster on the table. It was equipped with a paintball canister in the back and a curved dagger down by the mag. It just had this great Star Wars look to it. And Marvel, what I'm hoping and they're hoping is that it's really going to be sort of his signature weapon, along with Joseph Toro, these amazing thick gauntlets, even more thick than Mando's, on both of his forearms, that I think provide a tremendous defense mechanism, and also on the offensive as well for Gekko. So those are his strengths. I think that it can be easily incorporated into a video game, but only time will tell. And I hope that Marvel will really take pleasure in creating the magic of this huge blaster that Gekko has, and hopefully puts him up there in the stratosphere with the likes of Zuckuss and Forlom in years to come.
Right. Oh my goodness. Now, I know you mentioned you have some children. Are they interested in following you in your footsteps into acting?
My son, it was like my youngest son, it was almost like, tossing up the volleyball and just giving him a freebie or pitching him a beach ball to where Dad kind of paved the way. So it was a project that we did. It's coming out next year to where he was given a few lines. But the grit and the grind that you need to have in this business, for them, I would love them to have a little bit more financial stability. As artists, there's a desperate need to express yourself. And if you don't have that, a lot of times when you come from a very nurturing family of love and giving back and kindness and peace, and tolerance, there's not so much a desire, I would say, in my opinion. So my sons, I guess the greatest compliment is that they don't really necessarily have that need to prove themselves in that light, but rather go into an occupation where it's something just a little bit more stable and I think just emotionally stable there as well. So I don't see either one of them getting into it, but to be honest with you, this is something to where it's something where it just calls you as well. I think there's a lot of movies, specifically Star Wars, that might use that line in terms of it. The art itself calls you, and if the art doesn't call you, I would highly recommend not doing it, just because there's a tremendous amount of sacrifice behind the scenes, and I hope my kids get a little something more stable there.
Right. Now, they've obviously seen the show. What did they think about their dad being up there on the big screen? I mean, of course, you're unrecognizable, but, all the same.
I hate to admit that it's sort of diluted over the years. As I mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to be on almost 100 different shows, whether it's television or film, throughout the course of my career. But we definitely did have this little group hug. Once somebody texted me the trailer because I saw myself. There's a line that Carl Weathers has saying, "They're all jealous of you, Mando," and there's this really cool pan shot of me and two other bounty hunters within the cantina. And I remember just giving my kid just a big, huge hug because, again, Star Wars in and of itself, it's not even an acting accolade, but it's just the joy, the childhood. I think the child in all of us that always wanted to be part of this universe, to be able to finally have that gift. When we first were seen, it was really quite something special. But moving forward, unfortunately, they get a little bit drowned out because they've seen me on TV so many times, so it's not as special as it would be if you lived in the Midwest and came out, you flew out on a walk-on role or something.
Right. No, that's so funny. And it's so true too, and I think maybe when they're a bit older, they'll probably appreciate it a bit more. Maybe, I think, they're just take it for granted, right? As hey, that's what Dad does, right?
Absolutely. Some of their classmates will geek out a little bit more, and I always like it just because I know they're not really turned on to a lot of the crime dramas that I normally do with guest stars and co-stars.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a great feeling, and I'm sure they'll be able to tell many stories years to come. But let's hopefully get Gekko to that next level there over the next few years there.
Absolutely. Now, you have shared a little bit with us as far as some stories and all that. And I was just curious to know, do you have any other stories you'd like to share with us, be it with fan encounters or during your adventure, traveling the country, or... Yeah.
I just honestly, I can't say enough about these charitable organizations. They do everything gratis. They do these events for children, the 501st Legion, the Rebel Legion, the Mandalorian Mercs, and I would have appearances. I had to incorporate some weekdays where the appearances would be a little slower than when I was appearing on a Saturday and Sunday. And I just can't tell you how loyal and faithful the community is in terms of, like, they literally would just stand by my side for the entire, 5-6 hours that I was there. I had one gentleman, and this really floored me, out in Maryland, to where he didn't have enough money on his card for my autograph. And it just floored me, the fact that he would spend his last dime on just having that connection with somebody who's just a side character. I just can't tell you. I mean, that in and of itself sort of was the summarization of just the entire community and all the fans who kind of stood behind this character for me, knowing that it was just a small little side character, but they were there almost as if they were walking in my shoes as well. Yeah. And I just can't tell you how grateful I am for them. And I'm hopeful to be an ambassador at a much larger scale over the next so many years, so that I'm able to pay it forward back to them and their communities as well, as a way of saying thank you specifically for getting me through this year.
Oh yeah, boy, that's beautiful. I know it's been tough for so many people, and you really took the bull by the horns and made it work for you. That's amazing, really, and I applaud you. And I saw you throughout your trips, going on at different states, and you'd play music according to whatever state you were going through. I thought that was great. Yeah.
You gotta have Johnny Cash in Arkansas. I don't know how you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. God, we get Johnny Cash here when my husband gets control of Alexa. That's for sure. But I just think that it's wonderful, and I just I think you are so fortunate, but also you are so talented, and I really do hope that things continue, for you in your best interest. You definitely are somebody that is well deserving of it. I was telling the folks before I was introducing you that today, I don't know if you knew that, but November 18th, 1928, Mickey Mouse was born, so to speak. So he's 92 years old today. Now, I know you lived not too far from the mouse in Disneyland in California. And I was just curious to know, as a child, did you have an opportunity to go to any of the Disney parks?
Sure. Yeah, when I was 10 years old, my mother, she was a single mom, and we didn't have much money, so it made it that much more special. She took us to Epcot, and we did a bus tour down from New York. So that was when I was 10. And in 1989, I got to see Disneyland for the first time, which again was just that much, just as much special. I remember being fascinated with Figment over at Epcot when I was 10 years old. Yeah. But again, I mean, just the magic of Disney. I was so fortunate to take my son through COVID. We took a couple of days rest. My youngest son, we stayed at Animal Kingdom and also the Contemporary Hotel, two amazing, highly recommended hotels down there in Orlando. But really excited for the new future I'm here in the Star Wars Hotel, which I think is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Actually, I had a guest on here, I think it was like late last year, and they actually have an Airbnb, but every single room is a Star Wars theme near Orlando. It is the coolest thing in the world. Like, it's just wild. I'll have to, once we're off of here, I'll let you know about it. But it's so amazing. You would love it. But I saw just the mock-up of the in Galaxy's Edge, the hotel. It was like, this is wild. That's going to book out like 10 years in advance,
I think so. Especially, once COVID's over, I'm sure people are just going to be chomping at the bit. And we're going to have to get that reservation in sooner than later without question. I may have to throw some small star power around and say, hey, I'll sign for free.
Put me up in a room.
If you get up a room, exactly.
That's hilarious. So what could we say Gekko's favorite ride or attraction is at either of the Disney parks?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I just always loved just the intimacy of, believe it or not, this is kind of a off the beaten path one. I love just the detail they brought to Peter Pan. I'll never forget flying over the village there when it kind of takes you off there to Neverland, and just the intricate detail that Disney's so well known for. But just that little simple experience, almost less is more, was definitely one of my favorites. And then if I could just add one more, I can't tell you, composers. I love John Williams, but I can't say enough about Jerry Goldsmith. And if you get a chance to YouTube Soarin', California, his score to that, I think is just so magical and so beautiful. I played in the car often.
Oh,
Soaring
yeah.
California over at California Adventure
Yeah.
is just an amazing experience. Especially, you can even smell the orange grove
I
there, which is just
know.
incredible.
Isn't that amazing? I know. I love it. I absolutely love
Yeah.
Soren. That's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, favorite track. So, what would be your favorite movie, animated and non-animated Disney movie?
Oh, wow.
I know.
Well, yeah. Oh boy, non-animated. It's funny. I mean, I always go back to the classics, of course. Pinocchio. My mother she used to threaten me that if I ever got out of line, that Stromboli was going to come and take me away.
Oh,
It's just
it worked.
amazing. Just incredible memories there
Yeah.
with mom. And of course, I had the pleasure. I worked on a show called Code Black, and you want to talk about nerding out as a Disney fan. I'm going on to what's called the Julie Andrews stage in Disney and at the Disney Studios in Burbank. And the one thing about this street was the fact, I was not the street, but the soundstage was that was the street that I wanted to live on as a kid because I could not get enough of Mary Poppins. I had a crush on Julie Andrews. I fell in love with her in that film. Not to mention Sound of Music and all the amazing work that she did, when I was a kid and obviously all throughout her career. But Mary Poppins, I would say, would be my favorite there.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's my all-time favorite as well. I think that's probably Minnie. And to be honest with you, favorite. And it's something that, it's iconic. It will be there forever, for sure. Okay, so we got your non-animated one. What's your favorite animated one? Or two? Because we've got a lot.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, even though that was sort of scary in a way, I just still was always connected to Pinocchio.
Okay.
I always loved that, When You Wish Upon a Star.
Yeah.
I was just using that as a joke because my mother just has a little side story with you.
Okay. Okay, so Pinocchio.
Put my
Okay.
sister and I in line there.
Oh, I remember being terrified in Pinocchio. There's a guest on here, Chaz Seeley, says Pinocchio scary as an adult. Well, I remember, you see so much more as an adult watching those films, don't you? I mean, I grew up with the Flintstones, and oh my gosh, there's more wisecracks and jokes that I get now than I ever did as a child, just for an example. But Pinocchio, oh my gosh, the whale scene, that scared me, and I think I've always been afraid of water because of that. Psychologically, but Disney does they definitely push the envelope to fear or sadness or happiness or joy. That's what they do. It's the story, right?
Oh yeah, as a parent, watching that Dumbo scene with the mother and Dumbo holding each other, I mean, that gets you every time.
You know what? I never showed my kids that. I couldn't bring him to show them that one or Bambi. Isn't that terrible? But I saw, I don't even know if I saw the whole Bambi movie, but I remember just being so traumatized. And I thought, I'm not going to show that to my kids, That's going to be devastating, But, oh my gosh. That's...
They didn't hold back then. It's just like Europe, they have a different upbringing in terms of with the kids to where there's not so much political correctness. It's just, this is life. This is how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Dominic, where can people follow you on social media? Because you are somebody that people need to follow and find out what you're up to and your different projects and things like that. So where can people find you?
Sure, it's just Dominic Pace across the board, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then also Lair of the Gekko is all the Gekko updates. And like I said, we're hoping for a great Christmas present there from Marvel and from Disney. We got our fingers crossed. I think it would be a great boost. I think the comic book is doing very well, called Star Wars Bounty Hunters, but there's no question I think this would be an amazing boost, an amazing opportunity for the comic and also for small businesses to be able to kick that tour back in. And also, the fans, they love that rarity. They love that rare figure. The most expensive figures are those 1985 ones that we're seeing just a little bit. So we're hopeful that Gekko will be the blue snaggletooth of the new generation. But Lair of the Gekko would be another place to find me there, and appreciate everyone's support.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have one last question for you. Out of the whole Star Wars universe, who is it that you would like to meet?
To meet?
Yes. That you haven't already, I should say.
It's an interesting question because as far as the character themselves, or somebody that I emulate as the character, is Han Solo. I just, it's an age of strong women right now, and I believe in strong men as well. And I think between Indiana Jones and Han Solo, his characters are just absolutely amazing. In terms of meeting in person, sometimes it's never the same experience.
Right.
A lot of times, especially as they get older, they're I don't want to say they're over it, but at the same time, it's never so much emulating their work. And sometimes it's just nice to appreciate them on screen there.
Nice. Yeah. I know that one person that I really would have wished I could have met in person, just because I know her a bit more through her brother, is Carrie Fisher. And I remember, after I wrote her story, after talking to her brother numerous times, I just felt really sad, that I hadn't been able to meet her in person, because I think there was so much more to her. But you've met several, of course, but I just think that I'm always curious to know, what people in the field like to, who they would like to meet. I'm sure Julie Andrews, of course, would be on your list, but she's not in the Star Wars realm.
Right. Now, Harrison Ford, without question, but also, Jerry Lewis, I think, said it best, to where, a lot of times they're there to do a job, but then at the same time, they kind of have a different persona in real life, and that's totally fine. I think right now, more than ever, they're focusing on, if they don't love you in, as far as your views in life, sometimes they don't love you on screen. And for me, it's just all about appreciating the actor themselves. And, people are all human beings, and they're not necessarily always going to be perfect, but at the same time, just always, I think the greatest way to honor a lot of these big stars is just to really just truly appreciate their work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dominic, thank you so very much for joining us, taking the time out of your day this evening to spend on the show. It was such a pleasure having you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My best to you and your family up there. Who knows, we might be moving up there at some point or other, but in the meantime, I hope everyone stays safe.
Thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, that's so very nice. I'm so glad that you are, have been able to spend some time with us, all of you guys on YouTube and on Facebook this evening. And it has been an absolute pleasure having my guest Dominic on. And as I said, he gave you lots of ideas of where you can follow him on social media, and hopefully you will have the opportunity to meet him in person one day. He's a lovely human being, very, very positive person. And I just want to thank you again for joining me. And I have actually an announcement, if you want to just hear me out for a second. I'm actually hosting a charity holiday event online on December 9th. It's going to be, we're raising money for the Epilepsy Foundation of Greater Los Angeles, as well as a Moment of Magic Foundation, which are university college students that dress in screen-accurate costumes as princesses, princes, and superheroes, and visit the medically vulnerable children, or do Zoom calls in this case, as of late. But it's going to be a wonderful show, and it's with my guests, Disney renowned animators Mike and Patty Peraza, and it is going to be a fabulous show. We're going to talk about their work. We're going to talk about their holiday traditions at home and their work on A Mickey's Christmas Carol. So please take a look, watch on Facebook for notifications about that event, and it's all proceeds go to charity. It's only $10 a ticket, and that's my big announcement tonight. So at any rate, you guys, just want to say again, thank you for joining me. Good night, be well, and take care. Bye for now.